Once a robust and stable economic partnership, trade relations between the United States and Canada are deteriorating. The two nations have been close allies for a long time. The tensions are not just about money, they are also about politics, pride, and the future of trade between these neighbors. As we move forward, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel with the bell notification turned on for more updates. Canada is also preparing to fight back in a way that could have long-lasting effects on both economies. Canada is making waves with its response to U.S. tariff threats that might spread well outside of North America, leaving many people to wonder how this will all turn out. When the U.S. decided to impose tariffs on certain Canadian goods, the issue began. Tariffs are additional fees imposed on goods entering a nation. In this instance, the U.S. targeted Canadian exports such as timber and agricultural products, arguing that these tariffs were necessary to correct trade imbalances and safeguard its industries. However, Canadians perceive this action differently, viewing it as an assault on their economy and even their sovereignty, the right to govern one's own nation free from outside intervention. The seeds of this conflict were sown years ago, but recent U.S. actions drove Canada to the brink and forced them to take action. Now Canada is preparing a potent response to these U.S. perverts. This plan isn't small or straightforward. Rather, it's large and well considered. Canada is considering enforcing taxes on American-made automobiles, juice, bourbon, and other products. These products aren't arbitrary. They were selected by Canada because they are from industries in politically significant U.S. states like Michigan, Florida, and Kentucky. Targeting them is a means of drawing attention from U.S. leaders. But this goes beyond simply retaliating. As part of its strategy, Canada is also thinking about using its natural resources, such as oil, gas, and critical minerals. These resources are necessary for the production of electric vehicles and renewable energy technologies, and if Canada restricts its supply to the U.S., it could lead to serious disruptions. The annual impact of this trade dispute could be enormous. The U.S. and Canada trade over $800 billion worth of goods and services, which is a significant amount, and demonstrates how intertwined their economies are if Canada carries out its retaliation against U.S. industries. Farmers in the U.S. are particularly concerned because Canada is one of their biggest customers. If Canada stops purchasing goods like corn, soybeans, and orange juice, rural communities could experience severe economic hardship, but the effects won't stop at the border. Canada's plan to target critical resources like oil and minerals could hit the U.S. even harder. Canada is the largest foreign supplier of oil and gas to the U.S. Businesses that depend on cross-border trade, such as auto manufacturing and farming, could suffer. This could result in energy shortages, particularly during the winter, and greater costs for Americans. Further, important minerals such as cobalt and nickel are essential elements for EV clean energy technologies, and batteries may be more difficult for U.S. companies to acquire. This could hinder the United States' attempts to switch to clean energy and contend worldwide in high-tech industry. Canada and the United States have previously. In 2018, the United States faced a trade war. Two nations fought over similar concerns about Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods such as steel, and the aluminum dispute hurt our industries, and ultimately brought about a settlement. While the focus is on North America, the rest of the world is watching. If Canada successfully pushes back against us terrorists, it might inspire other countries to do the same. At the same time, a trade war between the U.S. and Canada could disrupt global markets, affecting supply chains, commodity prices, and investor confidence. Canada has learned a lot from that experience, and is now developing an even smarter strategy this time. It is also looking at legal upsets like challenging us terrorists through the World Trade Organization. If Canada wins, it could garner international support and increase pressure on the U.S. Not only are these two nations at risk, but the global economy as a whole. The leaders of Canada are considering not just the economy, but also the pride of their nation. Many Canadians believe that the U.S. tariffs are unjust and aggressive, and the public strongly supports their government taking a firm stance. The disruption of supply chains is one of the immediate concerns. Businesses in border states with strong ties to international trade such as Michigan, New York, and Washington may face significant difficulties. For instance, Michigan's auto industry depends on a consistent supply of parts and raw materials from Canada. Factory closures, job losses, and regional economic instability could result from a disruption that mainly depend on these sectors. Likewise, small companies that work in border-adjacent communities may experience catastrophic. They were forced to close their doors due to financial losses. Farmers are also in a vulnerable situation. One of the largest consumers of American agricultural goods, including corn, soybeans, and orange juice, is Canada. If it lowers its imports or imposes retaliatory tariffs, U.S. farmers may experience declining demand, which could result in unsold crops, financial hardship, and repercussions for rural communities. Another issue is the cost of energy. Canada is the United States' top foreign supplier of gas and oil. If it chooses to limit the United States may face energy shortages as a result of energy exports as part of its retaliation strategy. Particularly, this would raise the cost of heating and electricity during times of high demand, such as the winter. Adding more financial strains on American families and companies could be exacerbated by Canada's supply of vital minerals like nickel and cobalt. These minerals are necessary for the manufacturing of electric vehicle batteries and other clean energy products in the United States. Lack of certain technologies could impede the US's clean energy transition, reversing its global competitiveness in high-tech sectors. The wider ramifications of this conflict could put pressure on the US-Canada Agreement, USMCA, which was established to stabilize and expand trade in North America. If Canada intensifies its retaliation, it may result in legal disputes under the agreement's mechanisms, which would be unsettling for investors and businesses. Furthermore, Canada is thinking about contesting the US tariffs at the World Trade Organization. Should Canada be successful, it could garner support from other nations and encourage other nations with comparable US trade policies to do the same, which could result in a more thorough review of how the US behaves. Its commercial connections. Throughout history, Canada has demonstrated its ability to effectively counter US trade aggression. In 2018, during a comparable dispute, Canada imposed retaliatory tariffs on US goods like steel and aluminum. This tactic caused great suffering for US industries, and ultimately resulted in a resolution. Canada is now developing an even more impactful and strategic response this time around, after learning from this experience. In order to lessen its dependency on the United States, Canada's strategy also calls for investigating deeper trade ties with Mexico. A move like this could improve relations within North America while letting the US know that Canada has other options for using vital resources. Since leverage is arguably Canada's most effective instrument, it should reconsider its export regulations for vital minerals. Since these resources are essential for the production of EV batteries and advanced technologies, for instance, Canada could pose significant challenges to US industries that rely on them, especially automakers and tech firms. As this dispute develops, the future is uncertain as Canada finalizes its retaliation plans. Michigan's auto industry, which exported nearly $23 billion worth of goods to Canada last year, could suffer catastrophic consequences if Canada imposes tariffs on US-made cars and parts. As the US considers its options, will the US choose to escalate and run the risk of permanently harming its relationship with Canada? Or will it modify its trade strategy to de-escalate tensions? The choices made in the upcoming weeks will have a significant impact on international trade relations as well as North America. Let's jump right into it. Canada has recently announced a bold new trade policy that's sending shockwaves through international markets. As of date, Canada has decided to briefly explain the trade decision, e.g., impose significant tariffs on a key US import, renegotiate a major trade agreement, etc. This move has caught many by surprise, especially given the historically close economic ties between Canada and the US. Now let's break down what this decision could mean for both countries. First off, the immediate impact on the US economy is likely to be significant. With specific trade action, American industries that rely on Canadian imports could face higher costs, potentially leading to price increases for consumers. This includes sectors such as name-specific industries affected, e.g., automotive, agriculture, technology. On the Canadian side, the rationale behind this move could be rooted in reasons for Canada's decision, e.g., protecting domestic industries, responding to US policy changes, etc. However, it's important to note that Canada itself could also face retaliatory measures from the US, which might escalate tensions further. Political and diplomatic ramifications beyond the economic implications. There are also political and diplomatic considerations at play here. The relationship between Canada and the US has traditionally been one of the closest among any two countries globally. Any strain in this relationship could have broader implications for North American stability and cooperation on issues ranging from security to environmental policy, expert opinions and market sentiment. To gain more insights, we reached out to name of expert or analyst who specializes in international trade and economic policy. According to him, her, them, the decision by Canada reflects a growing trend towards described broader economic trend, e.g., protectionism, economic nationalism, etc., and could signal a shift in global trade dynamics. In terms of market sentiment, investors are closely watching developments between Canada and the US. Stock markets have already shown described market reaction, e.g., volatility, declines in specific sectors, etc., indicating uncertainty about the future of North American trade relations. Conclusion: what's next? As we wrap up, it's clear that Canada's recent trade action has set the stage for potentially turbulent times ahead. The implications for both countries' economies, industries, and political landscapes are profound and could shape the future of North American trade dynamics for years to come. We'll continue to monitor this situation closely and provide you with the latest updates as they unfold. In the meantime, share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think this will impact Canada-US relations? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses and updates on global economic developments. In recent days, the trade relationship between Canada and the United States has experienced significant strain due to new tariff announcements and policy proposals. President Donald Trump has declared the imposition of global tariffs on all countries that tax American goods, aiming to establish what he perceives as fairer trading practices. This move includes nations such as Canada, Mexico, China, Japan, the European Union, and India. The new tariffs are set to begin enforcement on March 12 in response. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has warned that imposing tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports will lead to American job losses and hinder U.S. economic growth. He also mentioned that Canada might implement countermeasures if the U.S. proceeds with these tariffs. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce has issued a report cautioning that protectionist policies like the proposed U.S. tariffs could damage economies on both sides of the border. The report estimates that if such tariffs become permanent, they could reduce the size of the Canadian economy by up to 1%, resulting in around $30 billion per year in economic costs. The U.S. could face approximately $125 billion a year in economic costs as these developments unfold. The economic and political landscapes of both Canada and the United States are poised for significant changes. The potential for a trade war looms, with possible repercussions including job losses, increased consumer prices, and strained diplomatic relations. Both nations are at a critical juncture, and the decisions made in the coming weeks will likely have lasting impacts on their intertwined economies. We'll continue to monitor this situation closely and provide you with the latest updates as they emerge. In the meantime, share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think these developments will affect Canada-US relations? In response to President Trump's recent tariff announcements, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has expressed strong opposition. He warned that imposing tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports will lead to American job losses and hinder U.S. economic growth. Trudeau also mentioned that Canada might implement countermeasures if the U.S. proceeds with these tariffs. The Canadian public has reacted with a mix of concern and resolve. A recent poll indicates that 91% of Canadians express a desire to decrease reliance on the U.S. as a trade partner. Additionally, 65% of Canadians stated they would avoid traveling to the U.S., and 67% said they would avoid purchasing U.S.-made products. This sentiment has led to a surge in Buy Canadian campaigns and a renewed sense of national pride. In the United States, reactions are mixed. Some industry leaders and consumers express concern over potential price increases and supply chain disruptions. Critics argue that the tariffs could lead to inflation and slow down economic growth. The escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada have elicited strong reactions from leaders and citizens alike. As both nations navigate this complex situation, the future of their economic relationship remains uncertain. We'll continue to monitor these developments and provide updates as they unfold. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. The escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada are poised to significantly disrupt the deeply integrated North American automotive sector. The proposed 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico threaten to upend established supply chains, leading to increased production costs and potential price hikes for consumers. Historically, the U.S. and Canadian auto industries have been closely linked. The 1965 Canada-United States Automotive Products Agreement, commonly known as the Auto Pact, was a pivotal trade agreement that led to the integration of the Canadian and U.S. auto industries in a shared North American market. This agreement removed tariffs on vehicles and parts between the two nations, fostering a collaborative manufacturing environment. Today, vehicles and components often cross the U.S.-Canada border multiple times during the production process. The imposition of new tariffs could disrupt this synergy, leading to increased costs and operational challenges for manufacturers. Ford CEO Jim Farley has expressed concerns that such tariffs could harm U.S. car companies while benefiting foreign rivals. He also emphasized the importance of federal subsidies for electric vehicles to maintain competitiveness against Chinese car makers. The potential repercussions extend beyond manufacturers. Consumers may face higher vehicle prices due to increased production costs, and the industry could see a slowdown in the transition to electric vehicles if subsidies are reduced. The intricate supply chains that define North American auto manufacturing mean that disruptions in one area can have cascading effects throughout the sector. The Auto Pact of 1965 was instrumental in shaping the modern Canadian auto industry. By eliminating tariffs between the U.S. and Canada, it allowed for a more efficient allocation of production and resources across the two countries. This agreement not only bolstered the Canadian automotive sector, but also laid the groundwork for the integrated supply chains we see today. However, with the proposed tariffs, the foundational principles of this integration are at risk. The automotive industry, which accounts for over 10% of intra-regional trade in North America, could experience a material contraction in vehicle sales across all three nations if these tariffs are implemented and met with retaliatory measures. However, with the proposed tariffs, the foundational principles of this integration are at risk. The automotive industry, which accounts for over 10% of intra-regional trade in North America, could experience a material contraction in vehicle sales across all three nations if these tariffs are implemented and met with retaliatory measures. The proposed tariffs threaten to disrupt decades of economic collaboration between the US and Canada, particularly in the automotive sector. As both nations navigate these challenges, the future of their economic relationship remains uncertain. We'll continue to monitor these developments and provide updates as they unfold. The escalating trade tensions between the US and Canada have significant implications for key industries, particularly energy and automotive sectors. Canada is the largest supplier of US energy imports, including crude oil, natural gas, and electricity. In 2024, Canada's share of US crude oil imports increased to 63%, highlighting its critical role in US energy security. The automotive industry is another area of deep integration between the two countries. In 2022, US exports of vehicles to Canada amounted to $53.8 billion, while machinery exports totaled $49.7 billion. Conversely, Canada exported cars worth $35 billion to the US, underscoring the mutual dependence in this sector. Agricultural trade is also substantial. In 2023, grains, fruits, vegetables, meat, and related products accounted for nearly two-thirds of US agricultural exports to Canada. Leading exports included fuel ethanol, $1.6 billion, dog or cat food for retail sale, $1.2 billion, beef and beef variety meats, $878 million, and pork variety meats, $864 million. The imposition of tariffs could disrupt these established trade flows, leading to increased costs for manufacturers and consumers in both countries. For instance, tariffs on steel and aluminum imports may raise production costs in the automotive and construction industries, potentially resulting in higher prices for consumers. The deep economic integration between the US and Canada means that any disruption in trade relations can have widespread consequences across multiple industries. As the situation evolves, businesses and consumers in both countries will need to navigate the challenges posed by these changes. Beyond their bilateral relationship, both Canada and the United States have established extensive trade networks. Globally, Canada has actively pursued trade diversification through various agreements. Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA. This agreement with the European Union grants Canada preferential access to one of the world's largest markets. Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP. Involving 11 countries around the Pacific Rim, this agreement enhances Canada's trade reach in the Asia-Pacific region. Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA. Formerly known as NAFTA, this agreement continues to facilitate trade between the three North American nations. These agreements underscore Canada's strategy to strengthen economic ties beyond its immediate neighbors. United States, global trade relations. The United States maintains a network of trade agreements to bolster its economic interests. Free trade agreements, FTAs. The U.S. has comprehensive FTAs in effect with 20 countries, enhancing trade flows and economic integration. United States Trade Representative World Trade Organization, WTO. As a member, the U.S. engages in global trade negotiations and disputes, influencing international trade norms. These agreements reflect the U.S.'s commitment to expanding its trade relationships and maintaining its position in the global economy. Conclusion: the evolving trade dynamics between Canada and the United States are set against a backdrop of extensive global trade networks. As both nations navigate current tensions, their established agreements with other countries may play a crucial role in mitigating economic impacts and reshaping future trade strategies. In a significant policy shift, President Donald Trump has announced plans to implement reciprocal tariffs, aimed at equalizing the tariff rates that the U.S. faces from its trading partners. This initiative is designed to address perceived trade imbalances and protect domestic industries. The proposed plan involves imposing tariffs on imports equivalent to the tariffs that other countries apply to U.S. goods. For instance, if a country imposes a 10% tariff on American products, the U.S. would reciprocate with a 10% tariff on imports from that nation. This approach aims to encourage trading partners to lower their tariffs and trade barriers, promoting fairer trade practices. The administration has initiated a comprehensive review of existing tariffs and non-tariff barriers imposed by other countries. This review will inform the development of the reciprocal tariff strategy, with reports expected by April 1st. The plan is anticipated to be implemented within weeks or months, focusing initially on countries with significant trade surpluses or substantial trade issues with the US. While the specific impact on Canada remains to be seen, this policy could further strain US-Canada trade relations, especially in sectors like automotive and agriculture, where both nations have substantial trade flows. The move has elicited mixed reactions from economists and industry leaders, with concerns about potential retaliatory measures and disruptions to global supply chains. As the situation evolves, businesses and consumers in both countries should prepare for possible changes in trade dynamics, pricing, and market access. Staying informed and adaptable will be crucial as these policies take shape. As tensions between Canada and the United States escalate, the ripple effects across industries, economies, and diplomatic ties are becoming clearer. Let's take a final look at the key developments. Tariff tensions. President Trump's announcement of sweeping tariffs on major trading partners, including Canada, has set the stage for potential economic disruptions. Canadian response. Prime Minister Trudeau has warned of American job losses and countermeasures if these tariffs proceed, reinforcing Canada's commitment to protecting its economy. Public reaction. Canadians are increasingly pushing for economic independence, with a surge in Buy Canadian campaigns and a reluctance to purchase U.S. goods. Auto industry impact. Given the deep integration of the North American auto sector, tariffs on Canadian exports could lead to supply chain disruptions and higher costs for both consumers and manufacturers. Other affected trade sectors, key industries such as energy, agriculture, and machinery are also at risk, as both nations rely on each other for crucial imports and exports. Global trade networks. While Canada is working to strengthen ties with other nations through agreements like CETA and CPTPP, the U.S. is focused on renegotiating its trade policies to enforce reciprocal tariffs, Trump's next steps. The former president's push for tariffs matching those imposed on the U.S. by other nations is expected to reshape global trade dynamics, with a full report anticipated in the coming months. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining whether these tensions lead to a full-blown trade war or whether negotiations will help stabilize relations. As always, we'll keep a close eye on these developments and bring you the latest updates.